For the past few months, there has been this main claim that donors controlled TPUSA, that donors controlled Charlie for many years until they couldn't anymore. What we didn't look at until now is the fact that Charlie wasn't the only one who had issues with the donors. Even Alex Clark voiced her frustration when speaking about them and what she had to deal with in the past. So why is Erika Kirk, as the current CEO of TPUSA, and Charlie's widow, allegedly continuing working with the same people who allegedly put so much negative pressure on her husband right before he was terminated on 9/10? If TPUSA's activists and media personalities felt that same pressure at some point, imagine what was happening to Charlie, especially towards the end. And Erika, as his wife, allegedly knew all about it. Well, today Erika says what she does is not our business, and what we do is not hers. And what people who question her, she prays for them, even though they hate her. It's a new clip of her that I will show you in a bit. To start with, take a listen to Alex Clark and Andrew Covette discussing this very issue.
It's like we don't believe in that control. We think like we hire good people and good people are going to do good things.
No, there was only, and I said this in my solo episode that came out yesterday. There's only one time in my 6 years of working here, and I don't think it was Charlie. I think it was other management. I had
probably me.
I don't even think it was you.
Oh, it wasn't?
It was other management, and I had a guest coming on who kind of talked negatively about some people that happened to be donors.
Oh.
And so it was like, hey, we really are thinking that maybe you shouldn't put this episode out. And I wrote like the one and only time I threatened to quit ever working here. It was like my most strongly worded letter, just saying, if I am expected to go on campuses and defend free speech to these students, then my free speech and my guest free speech should not be squandered within our walls of Turning Point USA. And I just said, we don't have to agree with everything that my guests say. And I have guests with different opinions.
Yeah,
and
I
if
agree.
those donors want to, come out and disagree,
That
that's
wouldn't have
fine.
been me.
So I don't think it was you, and I don't
Yeah.
think it was Charlie. But when I said that, I think Charlie was notified, and then it was like, just let her post it. Never to be, no one ever said anything to me again. And then any other times that I said controversial things, I would always get little messages from Charlie saying like, keep up the good work. I support whatever you want to say. Just like very kind like that.
Yeah.
Let me start by saying that I am not Alex Clark's fan. Her voice hurts my ears. Her posts on X, I had to unfollow her. I just couldn't handle her takes. And that's just me. I'm not telling anyone to feel the same way. Maybe her annoying voice is your cup of tea. That's fine. However, we can't deny this article in Wall Street Journal featuring Alex was in bad taste. Here it is. Charlie Kirk made her a star. Here is how she plans to honor him. Alex Clark, one of Turning Point USA's most prominent female voices, says she is committed to bringing more women into the movement. This was published on the 18th of September, 8 days after it happened to Charlie. If it was me, I'd never ever let them publish this title about me just a week after the tragedy occurred, especially photographed with all the flowers and candles behind me laid out in memory of Charlie. How freaking inappropriate. Seriously. I don't think this got enough attention, by the way, how horrific this whole setup was. And then this line from the article quoting Alex. The very first thought that popped into my head was, I'm so glad that Charlie knew Jesus. She's talking about when she found out that he was unalived, and what was the first thought that popped into her head. So, I'm so glad that Charlie knew Jesus, said Clark 32, who hosts the MAHA-friendly, so Make America Healthy Again, friendly podcast, Culture Apothecary for Turning Point USA. I have so many things to say about this name. I'm not going to make it all about that. The second thought was, what will happen now? And the third thought was, thank God Trump is president. Nothing weird about it, nothing wrong with it, all good. Your beloved boss is brutally unalived while the whole world is watching, but thank God Trump is president. And he's a president, and what? Did he help with Charlie's investigation? Did he even show a drop of grief? They were friends. Charlie won the election for him. And now we have the same president slagging everyone that was on the same side as Charlie, everyone that was protecting the same values as Charlie, everyone that is against the war with Iran as Charlie was, okay? So there are voices now on X saying that Charlie would be on the same list as Candace Owens, as Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly. There would be Charlie Kirk there if he was alive. But thank God Trump is president. That was the third thought that popped into Alex's head. But you gotta give it to Alex. She brought up the topic of donors head on. Here is her confirming that she did notice that Charlie Kirk was under pressure of donors, okay? on her podcast. Let's listen to that.
I will say, as far as the rumors go, for donor pressures and all of that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. Internally, what I noticed was, yes, he was getting pressure about having Tucker speak. There were people angry that we were allowing Tucker to speak. He wanted to double down and said, I don't care that people are mad. I have tons of different ideologies on this stage, religions, viewpoints within the conservative movement. Everybody's welcome. I want everybody to have a chance to share their ideas. Mm-hmm. And that's the only pressure I know of as far as donor pressure that he ever received recently.
A couple things that's worth clarifying. And you asked me this earlier, so let me make sure I'd say it. Charlie's position on it is very clear. I like them more than I like Hamas. I just wish I was free to criticize Israel and not be labeled an anti-Semite, because I can criticize my own government and not be called anti-American.
Right.
But why do I have more freedom to do, that and not criticize, a foreign government? And he was really upset that there was this sort of clampdown on the freedom of expression, the freedom of ideas, free speech when it came to a foreign government. And I will say this, he felt like he had earned the right as a friend of the people over the years and all of the things that he had done. He felt like his bona fides in that respect were unassailable, and that he should have the freedom to say, hey, it's time to end the war. Hey, it's time to stop the killing. But, with Tucker, for example, we took some pushback. We lost some donors. And what's interesting is it wasn't necessarily Jewish donors, although there was, because that's a misconception about Turning Point's funding base, by the way, is, it's not a whole lot of Jewish donors. It's just not. There was always, I saw the comments online like, oh, the Jewish shekels or something like, it's all this gross stuff. It just wasn't true. And it isn't true. But we did lose, one in particular towards the end that was frustrating. There's this great clip when we were in Myrtle Beach, and he got asked if, from somebody in the audience, if he was going to, debate Candace or, disavow Tucker. And Charlie's answer I thought was amazing. I remember he came off stage. He's like, "Do you like that one?" And I was like,
he would always ask that for reassurance.
Yeah. He always loved like, "Did you see that? Did you listen?
Yeah. Do I look good? Was that a good clip? Do you think that'll go viral?"
Yeah. And I remember saying like, "Yeah, I thought it was amazing. It was morally so crystal clear." And he basically said, "I don't appreciate being morally blackmailed." And and every time people would say that to him, he would dig his heels in. It's like, well, maybe Tucker's going to give 2 speeches now at AmFest.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll invite so-and-so.
So this was at the beginning, like a month after Charlie passed, when Andrew Covette, I think, still felt confident to freely speak on the matter, not thinking he will get caught in some chocolate theory. But it's interesting how things change over time and how casual they try to make this topic sound. Yeah, Charlie didn't like that he couldn't say one bad thing about Little Hat's politics. He can criticize his own country, but if he says something about their greatest ally, that's a problem. He's being defunded. I'm sorry, how are they talking about it so casually? Knowing what happened to him just a day after the donor pulled out. Just a day after Charlie wrote that text that he is forced to leave their cause. Just a day after he texted, they are going to kill me. But listen to another thing Andrew said.
I think that's the key. It's like Charlie was a friend of the Jewish people and a friend of Israel. Did he have opinions about the prosecution of the war, he thought their PR was abysmal, thought they were doing more harm than good in many ways for their own cause. So all of those things were true, and he was upset that he couldn't express those things freely without all of this pressure coming down on the organization. But he has a lot of great Jewish friends and some people that maybe some not so good ones, right? But I think it's just a nuanced thing.
Was Charlie offered $150 million from Israel?
As far as I know, no.
I had never heard anything like that. Everyone I've asked has said the same thing.
And by the way, just for what it's worth, it doesn't matter the amount that would have been coming down. We would have said no.
And there's evidence that is true.
Turning Point does not, Charlie would not accept foreign money.
Exactly.
We only took American money.
Yeah.
There was money sent to us, like practically in multiple instances where they're trying to cram it down our bank account. And we said no. We canceled like money wires and things.
No foreign money, and also no handouts from the government. During the pandemic, 100%. He refused to do mass layoffs that everybody else in the country was doing. Said no to the whatever that check was. What was that they were handing out? Stimulus check.
Yeah. The PPE loans, right? I always get PPP and PPE mixed up, but yeah.
But it was a good amount of money that at the time we could have used.
Yeah.
He put out a company statement saying, this was tempting for sure, but we're going to say no.
Yeah.
I mean, he was very principled in that way.
He was extremely principled, especially on foreign money. I remember moments we'd be at like an event, and some foreign people would come up and like demand a meeting or try and get a meeting with Charlie, and Charlie would look at me and go, deal with them, get rid of them. Like, just, I don't want to talk to them.
So this question was brought up because of what Candace Owens claimed, and it's that Andrew Covette told her that Benjamin called Charlie and offered him a crazy amount of money to take TPUSA to the next level. She even wondered in one of her recent episodes why it was offered to Charlie and in exchange for what. Take a look.
To address Bibi Netanyahu's call. Charlie described it, as I told you, as an intervention over the topic of Israel. Bibi offered, as I said, to take Turning Point to the next level. And what troubles me is not knowing the answer in exchange for what. I mean, how much money would it take to bring an organization that is already pulling in $100 million per year to the next level? And also, where was this money going to come from? How are they going to generate that sort of an income? How could they know they were going to make that kind of money? I have an idea that it may have been guaranteed from like war profiteering, war in Iran, particularly the issue that Bibi and Charlie were butting heads about. War, as I told you a couple of days ago, is a big business, not just a big business, the biggest business on earth. And it's also a overtly political business. Next thing we know, Charlie is dead. Turning Point USA is trying to twist and reimagine his legacy as pro-war in the Middle East, war in Iran, and Bibi is doing the most, right? Bibi is doing the rounds saying, I didn't kill him immediately, when no one initially thought that he killed him until he said he didn't kill him. Then we thought, did you kill him?
So it's a very interesting pattern with Andrew Covette, and it happened multiple times. Candice claimed that he told her something. Him or a person she was talking to denied it was true. Truth comes out, and surprise, surprise, turns out that Andrew Covette was the one who told. And he told the truth, at least at the beginning. That was the pattern. So this attitude around the topic of donors, like it was nothing, like it was something simple they just had to deal with, it's weird. And don't get me wrong, I do understand that when someone donates millions and millions of dollars, they'd want to have a say in what message is going out there. I get that. But what it looks like to me is that those were some very specific donors who were almost bullying Charlie, guilt-tripping him, using high-pressure techniques to get him to submit to their will, allegedly. What confirms it to me is what Alex Clark said in this interview. She threatened to quit over this because a donor tried to stop her from speaking to someone on her show. But one thing is true for sure. We've learned, especially over the last few months, that Charlie wouldn't accept money just to have money from somewhere foreign, like Andrew said. Maybe at the beginning it looked different when he was trying to grow the business. Maybe back then he was less selective. I don't know. But he became more and more picky with that. He said no to many rich people who tried to skew the message of the organization. Take a listen.
A story I heard about Charlie Kirk came from Frank Turek, who's a Christian apologist. And Frank said that for Turning Point USA to survive, it's done on donations. And some gentleman came and Frank said offered Charlie a lot of money for his organization. Now he said, I just have one request. Could you talk about Jesus less? And Charlie said, no, thank you for wanting to donate, but I think your money be used best somewhere else, not here. Daddy, I am not going to tone back talking about Jesus Christ. And we have Christian magazines and stuff who have sold out to get money. And here's this guy who was not willing to sell out for his 30 pieces of silver because Jesus was too important to tone down.
By the way, if you're hearing some weird audio as well in the background, it's my neighbors that are having a lot of fun today. It's Pascha, guys. It's Pascha weekend, which means Greek Orthodox Easter. So, Kalo Pascha to everybody watching. Anyway, one way or another, people with money constantly approached Charlie to convey their message, and I think he grew more and more sick of it. That attitude grew and was manifesting towards his then current donors. But except Charlie and Alex Clark, there were more people that spoke about the donors' pressure and how much they impacted the decisions. We all remember Caitlyn Bennett, very controversial activist who worked for Turning Point years ago. Well, let's hear her story.
No one will ever be Charlie Kirk, but I am who I am because of him. Without him, I wouldn't have my family. I wouldn't have met my husband. And so I literally owe nearly everything I have to him. I used to work for Turning Point like 7 years ago when I was in college. I held an event on campus that got a lot of pushback. And I met Charlie the next day and he was like, oh, I love that event. It was super funny. While the donors didn't love it. So Turning Point put out a statement disavowing me and the event. I worked really hard to try and fix my relationship with him, but it just wasn't ever the same. And once I had enough of feeling betrayed, I wrote a scathing resignation letter. I ridiculed Charlie and I made fun of him and I posted it and that went viral. Ever since then, I've been blacklisted from Turning Point for 7 years. But at the Student Action Summit, I showed up to do interviews with the protesters outside. And I really wanted to go inside and talk to my friend Savannah Hernandez. She called Andrew and he was with Charlie, I guess. And Charlie literally said, let her in. I want her here. And so they gave me a badge.
No way.
Completely free. And they let me in there. And I was even allowed to be there the next following days, but I didn't go back. I wish I had tried harder to talk to him and just say sorry. I don't blame him for blacklisting me. I understand why he did it, but I really wish that I could have said something.
Thanks for being so open about that. Yeah, it shows me the importance of forgiveness, right?
Exactly. A lot of people here today will say, I am Charlie Kirk. I like to say I'm Caitlyn Bennett because of Charlie Kirk.
Charlie liked it, donors didn't. Caitlyn had to go. And I'm not defending Kate's actions because she did pull a weird stunt at one of the protests. The breaking point came in late 2017, early 2018 with the infamous diaper protest that she mentioned at Kent State. TPUSA students staged an anti-safe space stunt where one participant wore a diaper and pacifier to mock progressive demands for safe spaces on campus. The event drew heavy ridicule online and media attention. And then Caitlyn claimed that TPUSA had initially approved or supported the event, but then distanced itself publicly when backlash hit, allegedly to protect donors and the organization's image. She felt thrown under the bus and unsupported by leadership in February 2018. Like she said, she wrote and published her resignation letter titled something like, I'm Turning Point USA's top activist in the country and I quit this shitty organization. She also criticized TPUSA leadership as incompetent, dishonest, and poorly managed while taking shots at Charlie, obviously, and the organization overall. But it's very interesting. If, in fact, Charlie told her, well, I liked it, I think it was funny, donors didn't, therefore, you're done. I mean, that means they have more say than we thought. However, my point here stands. It was the donors who had the last say. I think over time, Charlie began to grow tired of it and rebelled against this system in his own organization. What I want to know is what happened between the time it was simply donors want it their way, we can't offend the donors, and then donors are suddenly asking what will happen to the organization if Charlie's unalived. Because yes, that allegedly happened according to Erika herself. Let me remind you again, I'm not letting this clip be forgotten.
In August, before all this happened, he had a event where he had some donors at, and one of the first questions they asked was, God forbid if something happens to you, like what would happen next to Turning Point? And Charlie made a really interesting point. He said companies, example, Apple, Macintosh, he said they're founder-led. He said, but what I have built will one day, if I'm not around, be vision-led. And he had made mention at the end, Erika will do a great job running it.
One of the very first questions, guys, one of the very first questions the donors asked Charlie was, God forbid something happens to you, what would happen to Turning Point next? Really? That was one of the first questions on the agenda for that meeting? How come? Plus, why was there a need for that question? I thought Charlie just walked around the office and said on a daily basis, if something happens to me, it's fine, Erika will take over. That's according to Blake Neff. They also have this allegedly fake audio from a non-existent video of Charlie saying that he trusts the board is great, they know what they're doing, and that Erika should be the next CEO, that she will do a great job. But the most telling clue, I think we've gotten so far, was the leaked text message of a Little Hat donor that was sent to Charlie containing actual threats. Okay? Let me read it to you. All the people that trusted you This is that woman, and I'll tell you which woman, speaking to Charlie. All the people that trusted you, Jews and Christians, including me, why would you platform anti-Semites like Candace and Tucker? There are many evangelical Christian Zionists who would never give these people the opportunity to spew their hatred. I'm one of them. You say people are accusing you of being an anti-Semite because you disagree with the Israeli movement. Well, what is it exactly that you disagree with? You threaten Jews and Christians with your 30 million followers. Are you kidding me? Be very careful, Charlie. You are in violation of the 9th commandment by bearing false witness against your brother Judah. When was the last time you read your Bible, Charlie? I'm coming to you as a believer. Genesis 12:3. Obadiah and many more prophets warned those who curse Israel will be cursed. Your TPUSA Tampa event was a disaster. Michelle Bachmann was booed and about 10% walked out on her when she talked about standing with Israel. You brag about how you convinced all these young voters to vote for Trump, but you can't convince them to stand with our Jewish brethren? I forgot how ridiculous this message was. Wait, this is not a joke, Charlie. I'm coming to you as a sister in the faith. You have accomplished so much by the hand of the Almighty, but He is going to lift His hand from you. Don't fall for Tucker, Candace, and the rest. The Jews are under attack. God warns us in the last days that He will wipe out the descendants of Edom because they stood by while their brother Jacob, Israel, was held in captivity and did nothing. Don't be counted among the Edomites. It will be to your peril, as well as the unfinished work God was going to do through you. Of course, today we know who this message came from, allegedly. I'm going to play a clip from Candace's show to explain how it was discovered. And I know that some of you follow the story since September and are obsessed with it and know those clips by heart like me, but there are some people here who missed some things or just got on the bandwagon now and are catching up. We also tend to forget the earlier things that were discovered in the investigation, and I am here to keep them alive. Those are important. Okay, take a look.
Happen. Credit to @BraveReport. Some of these smaller accounts that just savage. I showed you guys this message. I said that Turning Point's not going to come out and tell you who wrote this message. This Zionist who is spelling, like you guys noted, God, putting a dash there. You guys are like, that's not how Christians would write this. It turns out that, well, Lori Cardoza Moore, the Brave Report pulled up as an evangelical Zionist who said that she then learned later on that she's Jewish, but she is still an evangelical. She's a maniac. I mean, there's no question she's a maniac, and virtually everything that was said in this text message was also a rant that Lori decided to do live on the internet pertaining to Tucker's totally sensible speech. Listen to Lori Cardoza Moore rant in her car.
Crossing with his mocking voice and his mocking laughter, they were horrified by what they saw. I had 3 couples reach out to me who had been to the Turning Point USA conference, and this was in Tampa a couple weeks ago. They called me and said they were horrified by what they saw. Horrified. They saw Tucker Carlson get up and act like another crazy person, talking, condemning Israel, praising Qatar with his mocking voice and his mocking laughter. So Tucker, right after him comes Michelle Bachmann. Michelle has 5 minutes to make an argument for why we have to stand with Israel to these young people at TUSA. When she starts talking in that conference about supporting Israel and why America should stand with Israel, the people in the audience start booing her. I spoke with her personally. She said 10% in the room got up and walked out on her. That is shameful. Then Charlie Kirk. This is his event. He's responsible for what people are saying and doing. Does he get up and condemn Tucker or correct Tucker for what he said about Israel and how dangerous Qatar is to us? No. Did Charlie get up and defend Michelle Bachmann? Did he condemn the people that got up and walked out on her and that booed her? Did he say why we stand with Israel? We support Israel? No, he didn't.
No.
That tells us everything we need to know.
This is what Charlie allegedly had to deal with. And apparently it wasn't only Charlie, it was everyone at TPUSA. So after seeing or remembering all this again, all put together, How can we stand here and honestly believe that TPUSA reps like Andrew, Blake, or Tyler, or Erika have no doubts what happened to Charlie on that day? That there is no other possible explanation. I think it must have popped in Andrew's head, at least at the very beginning when he shared that screenshot from a group chat with Charlie when he said, "I'm abandoning Pro Little Hat's cause. I'm inviting Candice." Andrew must have found it suspicious to screenshot it and share it with people. Or to tell Candice that Charlie texted him the night before and said they are going to kill me. So why are they so determined to prove Tyler Robinson did it all by himself when this official narrative doesn't make sense for most of the people out there? And the most important question, why is Erika Kirk allegedly continuing business with the same people that were bullying Charlie into submission right before he was unalived? Allegedly. We know what Erika is doing. She's just praying for everyone, right? And not to mock the power of prayer, but when there are legit concerns about her decisions as Charlie's widow and as a CEO of a multi-million-dollar non-profit organization, she needs to explain those. She needs to address the things and rumors, not the silly ones, but the ones that question where the money is coming from. How do they fund things? Is it legal? Those are all valid. Here is Erika's most recent appearance on her Bible 365 podcast.
But it's freeing.
It is freeing.
It is freeing when you can say, I pray for them, even though they hate me. I pray for them. Because it frees you from, like you said, Pastor James, that poison.
That's right.
And it frees you from that hold that they could have on your heart because you won't let them break you.
That's
you
right.
won't let the world break
That's
you.
right.
And it's even personal for me. I have
right. No, that's
two
right.
children to raise. I have an organization to run. I have students counting on me to show up. And that is where my energy goes.
That's right.
Every single day, that's where my energy goes. And, you know, and Pastor James, you know this too, at a micro level, you know, we see it. We live in an attention economy where it's designed to keep people angry and it's designed to keep people divided and continuing to scroll and to get their clicks. And a solved problem on the internet or wherever does not drive engagement. And a resolved grievance does not generate clicks. So some people, you know, have made a very deliberate choice to live their life that way. And you, Pastor James, and all the other people that are inside of Bible in 365, that is their business. That's not ours. Our business is of the Lord. And every single day, no matter how much you talk about us, that's your business. Our business is the Lord's, and we will just pray for them and keep moving and keep building. That is our business.
That's right.
Our business is kingdom business. Everything else is of the world.
It's about our Father's business.
Amen.
I don't know. See, she's saying nice things. She's saying beautiful things. Yeah, about prayer, how she's, you know, no matter what you think about me, I'm going to pray for you. But it's the way she said it, like, I'm going to pray. Is it me? Is it me? I don't want to mock her behavior anymore. It doesn't matter. Right now, it doesn't matter how she's acting. We've already seen it all. But it's just... And by the way, I personally do not hate Erika. Okay? I don't wish her any harm. I don't wish anything bad to happen to her. I just think, and it is my opinion, that her behavior from the start was odd. I don't know what was the reason for her odd behavior that continues till this day, but I know that it gives me bad vibes. And I'm not the only one. Hence, we have YouTube series like The Bride of Charlie by Candace Owens. If Erika was seen honestly pursuing justice for her husband, leaving no rock unturned, instead of blindly agreeing with the official narrative, well, maybe everything would be different today. But you guys know all this if you watch my videos, or Candace, or whoever that is pursuing this truth. And also, I don't like when they speak like that. Like, everyone is talking about Erika and TPUSA and Charlie's investigation only for money right now, okay? It's not like that. I think it might have been this at the beginning when everyone jumped on the bandwagon. It was like this viral news. Nobody thought it would be going on still 7 months later, okay? We thought it would be solved. I think everyone thought everyone would get on the same page, it would be resolved. You know, we would find other things to talk about. We did before and we will do after, okay? But as long as there is this topic to cover, we will. 1, it's interesting. 2, we really do want to know what happened to Charlie. We liked him, man. But as usual, I want to know what you guys think. Maybe you have an answer to some of the questions I asked today, or at least this one. Do you think donors had an impact, allegedly, on the events that transpired on the 10th of September? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and share it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel, turn on the notifications to never miss another Daily Freddo episode. For even more content, follow me on Instagram and X at Daily Freddo. That's all for today. Have a good one. And Kalo Pascha!